Hello guys, welcome to my channel. I hope everything is okay in your life. This video series has been prepared for general features of the classes in BDO to be conveyed to you by the Classmasters in appropriate way. The information contained in this video is limited and will not be a detailed guide. In the content you will meet, there will be an interview about the structure of the class in general. If you have friends around you who have questions about this class, they will probably be able to find general answers. The purpose of interview is to convey the class to you in a short and fun way. First, you will watch official trailer of the class, then we will start chatting with our guests. During the chat, I will add as many images as possible and try to provide you with a better information transfer. I hope you enjoy these contents. All these and similar classes will be completed and published in time. If you do not want to miss the moment when they are published, do not forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification button. Enjoy watching. Well, hello. Welcome guys. Today's guest is YELo for Ninja class. May you please introduce yourself?
Hi, I am YELo. I play BDO. I am 32 years of age. I've played BDO for a little over 5 years now. I play on the NA server, North America server.
How did you find BDO? From a friend or website? How did you go into MMORPG games? How did you decide to play this game?
A little bit of like how I came into BDO was I actually started this game actually pretty late. I started this game about like 1 year afterwards, before it actually like when it launched. I was actually playing Final Fantasy 14 at the time. During that time, I was also playing Blade and Soul. We kind of just saw a trailer for it randomly. It had so much camera shaking and it didn't really appeal to me all that much because it was very zoomed in. It was hard to follow what was going on. So I basically just, kind of just brushed it aside and I just kept playing Blade and Soul. I was playing Final Fantasy 14 on my off time. And eventually I finished Final Fantasy 14 and then I got tired of Blade and Soul. Then I kind of just eventually just started saw a trailer for Ninja, an Awakening Ninja, and I absolutely fell in love with the class. So I just started playing it.
How many years have you been playing your class? Is this your first class? Are there any other classes that you started game with or tried?
I've been playing Ninja since the very beginning of when I started playing this game, which is about 5 years. I have never rerolled from it. I will probably never reroll from it. I absolutely love this class. I've played pretty much almost every other class, like just to try them out. There's a trial system in this game, and I love trying out classes and just to understand how to play with them and how to deal with them and how to PvP against them. So I just will never swap off Ninja. It's just a class that I absolutely love. It's just like a passion for it. I just love everything about the class. It's just really enjoyable. It's entertaining. I love the movement. I love the sound effects it makes when you cast smokescreen or alert stands. I love the swords. I love how he attacks. Everything about the class is just really, really cool to me.
Yeah, like me. I love my Valkyrie.
Yeah.
So, do you think your class is newbie friendly? How would you rate your class out of 10 in terms of difficulty in PvE and also PvP?
Class newbie friendly? No, I don't think it's newbie friendly. In terms of difficulty, for PvE, I actually think it takes a little bit of time getting used to it. If I were to rate it out of 10, it would probably be like an 8, 9 difficulty. For PvP, I think it's probably a 10 in terms of difficulty. It requires a lot of practice. You need to be training all the time. You have to get used to the muscle memory, the amount of inputs you need to get used to all of the different types of skills. When you grind, you can go up to like 20, 25 skills in a rotation, depending if you play Succession or Awakening. Very extensive, requires a lot of effort, a lot of practicing. You're sitting in Battle Arena, practicing on a dummy, watching a guide video on the side potentially. It's definitely not newbie friendly, but I think if you really love playing the class, because if you have the passion for it, you will catch up in no time.
So in these days, do you prefer Awakening or Succession, and why?
I prefer Succession, 100% Succession. I played Ninja Awakening since the beginning. I absolutely love it, so there will always be a special place in my heart for Ninja Awakening. But ever since Succession came out, I mean, the trailer for Succession didn't really do it much justice for the BDO Pearl Abyss trailer. However, when I got my hands on it and I got to try it out in Global Labs, it was just... I was absolutely hooked the moment I started trying out the skills. I don't know if many other people know this, but at the time when it was out on Global Apps and you got to try it for the first time, there were actually no sound effects for a lot of the skills. Because they were considered prime skills, they're new skills, right? You actually couldn't hear the sound effects of the skill. And I already loved the class. It already felt cool to me. And then they updated it again a couple of weeks later, and then the sound effects came out for it, and it just hooked me even further. I just absolutely love the aesthetic appeal of Succession Ninja.
So, you know, and most of viewers know, I published a PvE tier list, and there is a page in this PvE tier list related with Ninja. May you please analyze this?
Awakening Ninja, I think, is probably one of the sweatiest grinders back in the day, but after the reworks, they have toned down the difficulty of the amount of skills that you require to grind in a lot of different spots. They basically made it so that the Awakening damage output is much more efficient. You can basically stay in Awakening the entire time while you grind. Mobility is solid. It can basically grind almost any of the endgame grind spots perfectly fine, very efficiently if you have enough AP with Kudum. The crowded spots are also pretty decent. You will burn quite a bit of stamina moving from spot to spot in terms of the early game and the crowded spots. Endgame spots I think is perfect nice since they have a lot of repositioning skills with Ghost Step and allows you to go behind targets to get back a lot of back attack. So durability, I would say Awakening Ninja is quite squishy. Most Awakening Ninjas run the DR build, so they're quite squishy in my opinion. You can run an evasion build on Awakening Ninja, but it's highly unlikely unless you are incredibly hard capped. So generally speaking, you're more on the squishy end for Awakening. Succession is, before the reworks, I think Succession was a lot more sweaty compared to Awakening. You had to press 10, 15 skills in a rotation constantly because the damage output just wasn't high enough. It was still a good grind. It's just required a lot of inputs. And most people that play BDO usually want to have like a chill grind. More so because it required a lot of APM, that it was difficult for a lot of players to play Succession Ninja. You know, you didn't mind the APM, you didn't mind the sweatiness, then it was pretty solid. Early game starts, again, you're gonna burn out stamina like crazies, moving from pack to pack unless you got your movement down. Crowded spots, I think, is actually pretty decent. I used to grind Histria for so long. I had so many thousands of hours at Histria. I grind Akhman as well, Sakraya, like Orcs. I grind all these spots for a very long time on Suck Ninja. They're all really solid spots. I wouldn't say they're S tier for Succession Ninja, but they're pretty good. You'd make a pretty good chunk of money. For endgame spots, I actually think Succession Ninja, after the reworks, has been improved quite a bit so that you can actually grind endgame spots now. I normally stream and I grind endgame spots almost every single day. I grind like maybe 1 or 2 hours a day because now I'm like, I don't grind as much as I used to. I kind of PvP more often now. But for grinding endgame spots, I grinded Hex like almost every day now. And it's pretty solid there. You will have to sweat a bit. I'm a glass cannon build on Ninja, so I'm squishy, but it's definitely doable there if you keep your mind to it. It is sweaty. If your hands aren't used to it, it definitely will be difficult on your hands, but it is solid. You make a good chunk of money there. In terms of mobility, Suck Ninja is one of the best mobility in the game. If you ran an evasion build, build. I think he's also one of the tankiest evasion-based classes in the game as well, just right underneath the gauntlets, striker and mystic. Pretty solid grinding class for both awakening and succession. Just a little sweaty if you're not used to that type of grind.
So I want to ask this extra question. People mostly think ninja playing on DR or evasion. They're wondering why DR or why evasion?
This has been a huge topic for ninjas. This question gets asked every single day on the Ninja Discord. Even in my own Discord, I get asked this question quite often as well. And the basic answer is that for optimization purposes, personally, I think if you're max level gear, I think evasion is better. The reason why most people go for DR on Ninja is because it's much easier to obtain high damage output with DR, but costs much less silver. It's easier to get a lot of damage, but much less silver. Whereas evasion, it's much easier for you to obtain tankiness, but your damage output won't be as high, right? So it'll be difficult for you to secure kills on a lot of targets. So people generally choose a DR route so they can make sure they kill. Most players are like that on NA. The region is just filled with a lot of people that want to kill targets very efficiently. But generally speaking, if you want to go complete hard cap endgame, evasion is generally the better build. But people love killing, so it's understandable why there's a lot of people that run DR, including myself.
If I were a ninja, I would definitely choose evasion because
Yep.
if you stay alive, you can kill more. That's my idea.
I agree.
You generally summarize the PvE. Let's talk about the specific. What about Awakening PvE, early game, mid game, and end game spots?
Awakening, I think, is very similar to Succession in terms of early game spots. They actually have, in my opinion, probably better filler skills than Succession. Their basic filler skills on Awakening is you just press spacebar. You just cast any kind of skill, and if the monster's still alive and you don't want to burn other cooldowns, you can just hold spacebar and you just cast Seamless, and it allows you to simply finish kills with Seamless very quickly. So early game spots is very, very easy. And the movement is very short cooldown, so it's easy for you to move from pack to pack. Crowded spots, again, it's very similar to Succession. You probably won't require many skills. Both ninjas in Succession and Awakening have strong DP debuff skills, max at 20 DP debuff, with Awakening on Katana Shower and Succession with Red Rain. Both the same skill. They both DP debuff, and you basically will probably 2 or 3 skill the pack if you have it like a decent amount of AP for crowded spots. Endgame spots, I think Awakening is a lot more comfortable because you have better block-based skills. Succession, you basically have to cast a lot of super armors and then you reposition yourself so you don't get hit. But Awakening is also still very strong at endgame grinding spots. I've done Awakening at Hex as well. I don't have a Pen Blackstar Awakening, but I do have a Pen Star main hand. But Awakening was still very comfortable, even at Hex. With my gear, it was still quite comfortable. Hex Sanctuary with Awakening Ninja, I highly recommend it. If you're an Awakening Ninja and you don't really want to play Succession Ninja, you should definitely a good option.
The most interesting and most funny part for ninja players. May you please give us a bit information about Awakening PvP? 1v1, 1vx, I don't know, solar, large scale.
So Awakening PvP, I've been doing it for a very long time now, for several years. I actually still go back from time to time to play Awakening Ninja to PvP a little bit. I think Awakening is probably one of the best 1v1 classes, one of the best duelists in the game. They have such a powerful kit for catching defensive play. They're able to counterplay very effectively. They're able to constantly stay in and out of the fight. They don't really have to, risk taking a lot of damage because a lot of frontal guard spamming. That is like one of the biggest powers of Awakening Ninja, is being able to, spam frontals. And they have a lingering frontal guard with their C swap, and it's just an incredibly efficient class. It has options to counterplay every single class in the game. They have 2 grabs. They have a lot of burst damage. Now, if you don't have a lot of gear, nor do you have a lot of accuracy, Awakening Ninja actually suffers a little bit on accuracy-based damage. You'll notice a lot of their skills doesn't have a lot of accuracy on them. It's like maybe 4% on Serpent is very low. Katana Shower also only 10%. Not that high. Drastic Measure is a 30%, but this is like our only skill that has like this much damage on Awakening. So if you don't have some of these skills available, you kind of have to constantly kite and play around cooldowns. Generally speaking, Awakening Ninja has always suffered with lack of accuracy on a lot of their skills. Gotten a Flashing Light, which is an evasion debuff, and you also add a evasion debuff add-on on it, making it pretty decent. So dueling, depending on your class, you will probably suffer in terms of damage output, but generally speaking, you're probably strong against like 90+% of the classes of the game. In 1vx, I also think Awakening Ninja is absolutely insane. In my opinion, if you have a decent amount of gear, well, this is assuming if you're above standard gear. 1vx, Awakening Ninja is absolutely incredibly strong. They're borderline S tier. Their damage output may be not as high as, like, let's say a Musa or a Suck DK, but they can always constantly be ready for a kill to secure a kill. They can constantly move in and out of fights again. It allows them to play around targets quite often. If you play against a class that SA trades a lot, you can actually block quite a bit and allows you to stay alive even longer. You don't have to risk taking a lot of damage. And having multiple grabs gives you the option to counterplay a lot of the shield-based classes in the game as well, since that's a predominantly heavy meta that I know both EU and NA has, is a lot of shield classes. In terms of 5v5, I think Awakening Ninja is pretty strong at 5v5 because generally speaking, most classes that are good at 1v1vx will probably be very good at 5v5 as well. So insanely strong 5v5. They can stealth as well. This is like something that I don't even use that much, even though I think stealth is a very strong option in a lot of PvP. It gives you the element of surprise. It allows you to counterplay and back attack your targets. It's just a very strong option in general. They actually have really strong peels, meaning you're able to, let's say your teammate gets CC'd by something, you're actually able to go up and help your teammate by counterplaying the enemy that was hitting your teammates. And they have a lot of options for that as well. Large scale. Now, large scale has been kind of iffy in terms of node wars and Siege. I think in Siege, I think Awakening Ninja kind of falls down a little bit because in the current meta of Siege, range damage, a lot of super armor damage is probably the king right now. Like if you're Succession Ranger, Succession Draconia, which recently got nerfed, Succession Casters, Musas, you know, all these classes that are able to go in, dish their damage, stay protected the entire time, and they don't require a lot of inputs, a lot of skill inputs to secure kills, are very efficient and effective. Most Siege kills right now in the current meta are they're just so efficient at how they kill without putting a lot of risk. Awakened Ninja, usually if you land a CC on a target, you have to be in the middle of the fight, and that causes a lot of risk for Awakened Ninja. You could potentially get CC'd, you could probably break your block. So Siege, they're strong, but they're not as good as the S tier classes. They're still good. Yeah.
Good for only skirmish flank, these kind of flanks.
Skirmish flank.
Game, eh?
Yes, exactly. Now for Node War, where there's not as many people engaging with each other as much, and there's a lot more skirmishing and open field fighting, Awakening Ninja is absolutely S tier. In my opinion, they are able to kill 1 or 2 targets very quickly and then disengage from the fight. Wait the 7 or 8 seconds of cooldown of your Serpent Ascension or your Drastic Measure, 10 seconds, Serpent is 9. If you basically just play around these cooldowns, you probably secure a kill within every 10 seconds if you are keeping yourself alive at every time. So Node War, Awakening Ninja, Terrifying class, it's not as efficient at securing kills as like maybe a Musa, but it's still very effective at constantly fighting. Awakening Ninja is still a very strong class even after all the changes. I think a lot of EU ninjas would prefer Awakened Ninja to get a tiny bit more buffs in terms of damage output, especially in Solaire. Speaking of Solaire, Arena of Solaire, Awakened Ninja, in my opinion, I actually don't think this class is that bad. The only reason why it's not doing well is because it doesn't have damage. And I think if Awakened Ninja had the same damage output as some of the stronger classes, it would be probably the best class in the game in Solaire. Easily. If it had one CC combo that can do like 60-70% damage, not even that much, but securing kills with Awakening Ninja, and if it had the similar damage to Succession Ninja, that's basically how Succession Ninja can do. If it had anything remotely close to that, or even close to Musa or Sakike, it would be the best class in Solaire. You heard it here first. I'm not even kidding. I'm not, BSing or anything. I think Awakened Ninja has the potential to be that strong. There are already like clips of numerous Awakened Ninjas that do incredibly well in Solaire. Block Drop is one of them from the NA region, Chara from the SEA region, Hamza, Toyo, Nightlife from the EU region, Meza from the NA region as well. There's just tons of great Awakened Ninjas, and they just don't do a lot of damage, but they are able to outplay their opponents so well, so frequently. They get highlight clips all the time. It's a very strong class. It just doesn't do damage, and that's the only problem that it suffers with in Solaire.
What about Succession? People mostly prefer Succession in these days. Let's talk about first Succession PvE, then Succession PvP. So early game, mid game, and end game. Succession
PvE, I think, is actually quite solid. It's good at everything. At the early stages of the game, you actually probably will run out of stamina quite a bit. I myself have had this problem as well when I was making my seasonal character. You actually run out of stamina quite a bit. That's pretty much the only downfall of Succession Ninja, and a lot of that stems from the rework. They basically froze our stamina consumption or stamina regen during alert snap. So moving from pack to pack, utilizing a lot of movement, you actually will not be able to regen as much stamina. So you actually have to rely on target chase quite a bit, which is your sprint buff that gives you more movement speed and infinite stamina. It's still pretty solid. Crowded spots, again, I grinded Histria on Succession for such a long time. Very comfortable grinding. It's very solid. I'm at all these crowded spots like Orcs, Sakraya Stars End. Very, very solid grinding there. You don't require too many skills to clear the packs because Ninja is really good at moving in between packs. It allows them to clear very quickly and efficiently. Endgame spot for Succession Ninja, again, I think personally, I didn't ask for Succession PV buffs, but we got them. And I don't think many Succession Ninjas asked for PV buffs, but we just randomly got them. And I'm very excited about it because I don't ask for much on Ninja, and it's whatever we get, I'm very happy. I get very happy when we do get stuff. So I'm very appreciative of whatever buffs that we do get. Because we got some more PvE buffs, Succession Ninja is even better at clearing endgame spots. They went from like pretty decent, like maybe A tier to like A plus, maybe S minus tier in grinding. They're just really solid. If you're like an endgame evasion build, Kudum build with Suck Ninja, you will do extremely well at endgame spots. Their mobility, in my opinion, is one of the best mobilities in the game. Their durability, if you do run evasion, is also very high as well. You're actually quite tanky with the smoke evasion buff. You're only basically second to the Gauntlet, Striker, and Mystic. I think they're quite tanky if you run evasion build. Most Succession just run durability or DR based builds, but they're quite tanky if you run evasion.
I understand.
But yeah.
So what about PvP?
All right, so PvP. So I've been playing Succession Ninja since the very beginning. I've never rerolled off of it, and I can safely say that I think Succession Ninja probably one of the best duelist classes in the game. They're easily like a top 5 S tier duelist class, no question. They have such fast movement that this is like one of the hidden tech of Succession Ninja is if you have very low ping and you fight against people with higher ping, one of your advantages that you can get as a Succession Ninja is you can brute force their defense. What I mean by brute force is you can throw a lot of aggressive plays, aggressive CCs against them, and if they're basically late on any kind of defensive maneuvers, they can get caught. It's very frustrating. I know some of you in chat have dealt with this problem before when dealing with a low ping Succession Ninja. It's a big problem. I mean, it's not a big problem for, low ping players, but it's a big problem for people that don't have low ping. It's difficult to deal with. I understand. It's definitely happened to me a few times. Quite strong. If I say so myself, it's very strong. In duelists, they don't really have many bad matchups, I'll be honest. I think some of the bad matchups are probably 50-50 or less, and that's because it's difficult to catch certain classes in the current era. Succession DK, Awakening DK is an example of both those two classes. Are just very difficult to CC because they have very little gaps. Catching DKs is quite difficult as a Succession Ninja, but you definitely can safe play it to play safe. If you have enough gear, you can stay alive against certain DKs a little bit more. Again, this is where the evasion durability comes into play. If you can survive a lot more damage output against you, you can actually live a little bit longer against classes that kite, but you'll probably run out of stamina, but it's okay, it's manageable. 1vx, I think Succession Ninja is also a very strong top tier 1vx type class. This is something that I think a lot of people may not understand about the differences between Awakening and Succession is that Succession will always have an option to do damage, whereas Awakening will always have to rely on Serpent or Drastic Measure. At least after rework nowadays, you need Drastic or Serpent Ascension to secure damage. Succession Ninja basically has like 9 different skills that if 4 of them are on cooldown, you have another 4 that are just as strong. Now, individual skills, like individually, they probably won't be as strong as Drastic Measure or Serpent, but because they're like, let's say a Serpent on a scale scale damage rating, let's say 90%. Succession Ninjas, like all of their skills are like maybe 80, 75%, 80 damage rating, but they have a lot more. So it gives them more tools available to them. And in my opinion, I think that's one of the reasons why it makes Succession Ninjas very strong, because they have more than one way to deal damage. And it gives them a lot more options for killing a target. I think that's where the skill difficulty comes into play, because the more you know about your kit, the more you are able to secure kills in a lot of different scenarios where you normally don't find an option to kill. In 5v5, again, just as Awakening Ninja, Succession Ninja is just as good at peeling. Defensively, they are probably one of the best at having an option for every counterplay. If your teammate gets CC'd, you definitely have a way to counterplay the enemy. They are huge damage output. They have one of the best e-buffs in the game. Their e-buffs is it gives them 3 dots. So dots are damage over time. If you're not a typical MMO player, you can cause a poison, burn, and bleeding on every single one of your prime skills. Basically, every single skill you proc allows you to apply a dot. Every single prime skill. It doesn't matter what you cast. And every new skill that you apply will reapply
Refresh.
this dot. It refreshes, yes. And you can stack this even further by adding a bleed on one of your skills. So you can have basically 4 dots at any given time when you have your E-buff within that 30 seconds. It also has like, minor damage buffs like all AP, accuracy, crit rate, ignore. Those are strong too. But generally speaking is the bleed that allows you to do so much more damage. Little you guys know, but Succession Ninja's dot meta was actually toned down when it first came out. The add-on system was much different. You can actually apply 7 dots back then, but nowadays you can only apply 4 at max. You can apply 3 of like the skill-based dots, and then you also apply 1 add-on dot. So it's definitely a lot more tuned down than it used to be. There's a cancerous build that you can run. You could just run like a full DP evasion build on Ninja, never die, and you just put dot on every single skill that you have, and you literally just kill them by death by 1,000 cuts. It was very cancerous. I made that build once, and I never went back to it again. Moving on to large scale, I actually think Succession Ninja is a lot better at Siege than Awakening, mainly because I think Succession Ninja has a very strong dive bomb playstyle out of stealth. So Siege being a lot of amount of players, you can basically just E-buff, pop all your buffs, your speed buff, you can do Ghost Claw if you prefer that, and you just go into stealth, and then as you engage, you just engage with like your entire kit, but then you can use your block jump to disengage, and that basically allows you to fully and cleanly disengage without much risk. And if you have enough gear, you basically will, kill a lot of players. I've done it a lot of times in Nodor and Siege as well, and a lot of numerous other ninjas have done it as well. It's just in a very efficient way of securing kills. It's a very rat playstyle. I think ninjas and kunas were probably the classes that coined the rat playstyle because they would just stealth, wait for people to group up, and they just E-buff come out and they just wipe like 10, 15 people, and then you hear the shot caller on the other side just started molding on the other side. It's great. I love it. As for Node War, what they could do in Siege, they can actually do better in Node War because in Node War, you actually don't have as many players focusing you or shooting at you, or there's not many Succession casters, aiming at you, or Succession rangers throwing arrows at you. So you actually have a lot more freedom and movement. So whatever they could do at Siege, they could do much better at Node War. They have much more space to move. They have less arrows and range fire hitting them. The players are less geared in Node War as well. Most Siege players are like very high geared nowadays, or if you play on Cap Siege, most people are the same gear level, and Succession Ninja's damage output isn't as high. But on Node Wars, you can 2-skill a lot of players easily, like no problem. Now going into Solaire, Arena of Solaire, Succession Ninja is probably one of the top 5 classes in Solaire, but I think that's only because of their E-buff. I think if they didn't have their E-buff, they would probably be like an A+, maybe S- tier class. The E-buff is one of the reasons why Suck Ninja is so strong right now, is you have a set interval of healing in Solaire. Because of the 4 dots that you apply, it basically allows it so that you disable their auto healing, your enemy's auto healing. So if an enemy is very greedy and they're low life, and they rather disengage instead of pop their V, they can actually risk dying. I don't know how many times I've gotten kills like this. I've gotten maybe several kills by just making sure I E-buff and engaging before they even have a chance to pop their V. And a lot of people have died that way. And outside of just the E-buff, Suck Ninja is just very fast. They can catch targets very quickly. They can V-chase. For some of you who don't know what V-chasing is when people pop their V, they run to a specific spot on the map. And if you have really good experience on positioning and you kind of guess where they are accurately, you can actually chase their V and kill them as well very quickly as Succession Ninja. So very strong class in Solar.
Okay,
Much better than Awakening because of the damage output.
We all
Yeah.
know Succession Ninjas using cheat to find the V.
I don't know about cheats.
Okay, I think you summarized very well and detailed for Awakening and for Succession. Let's talk about game itself. What do you think about BDO's for current situation from past until now?
Okay, so I've been playing since the first year, well, right after the first year. So this is after server merge. Before the server merge, there was not enough information around BDO. It was very difficult for people to obtain information because there weren't as many YouTube guides and all that stuff. And a lot of the information you had to find was on Reddit and in-game like word of mouth. Not many streamers at the time too. Most of the streamers were just like everyday PVX type players who may be knowledgeable, but it was very difficult to spread information around. So during that time, BDO was very new and fresh, and people were still, you know, learning about the game. And it wasn't as big as it is today. It was way different. It was a completely different game back then, that's for sure. In the current situation of BDO over the past years, I think one of the biggest things is that we have developers that have started to listen to, you know, players' feedback. Okay, and I know back then we weren't fully published by Pearl Abyss. It was Cacao back in the day, so I'm not sure what the biggest problems was, but it was very difficult to get player feedback and for player feedback to be listened to back in the day. We still have a little bit of that today, a little bit of problems of that today, but it's much better than it used to be. There were a lot of problems back then that was just basically never solved for 3, 4, 5 years. Nowadays, we have a lot more feedback that actually gets solved, which is really great. So that's one thing that I really appreciate about the current situation of BDO, is that they actually try to listen to, you know, the feedback that we have nowadays. Now, we have a lot of feedback nowadays because they have expressed that they do listen to feedback. So if they keep listening to the feedback, that would be great, because it's most important to try your best to keep your players happy, and it's because the players play the game, right? So you gotta try your best to listen to the feedback. That's the one thing that I do appreciate is about the BDO's current situation. Now, in terms of the game, I think BDO has become, or at least in terms of development, I think development is kind of, they're adding a lot of different types of content instead of polishing the content that a lot of us enjoy already. An example of that is life skills has been overlooked for a little while now, and I started this game life skilling. I used to do crates. I used to do trash crates to turn in to get Master 2 trading. It's no longer requires Master 2 trading. Now it requires only Artisan 2. But I started this game life skilling and fishing and stuff like that. So I really enjoy life skilling because it's very chill. I can watch anime on the side. You know, it's very easy. But life skill nowadays has been completely overshadowed by grinding. Grinding has been just the king of silver income. If you want to make silver, you want to make silver quickly, you just grind, and you probably will outpace any life skiller by twice the amount of profit. You can basically just be a beginner player level. Like beginner level player from season can make 500, 600 mil silver after they complete their season or whatever, or even working up to like 240 AP or whatever it is. They can basically make like 500, 600 mil an hour, which to me is insane. Back then, when I used to grind at Pirates, I made like 80 million silver, right? Like silver back then. And when you do fishing overnight, that was probably like 15, 20 mil overnight, like a whole night's worth of fishing, right? And nowadays, people make 600 mil in an hour as a beginner coming out of season grinding sulfur mines or something. To me, that's just insanity. Nowadays, endgame players like yourselves, because I actually watch your videos about your Valkyrie. I was trying to teach one of my guildies, a Valkyrie player, how to grind Hex. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. You clear like 1.2, 1.3 billion silver an hour. And that's just, there is no life skill that can match that pacing. I think if Pearl Abyss were to improve a lot of other aspects about the game that is already has systems for in the game, would be great. They added Arena, which we've been asking out for, you know, several years now, which is something we've been asking for such a long time, and we've been wanting. I'm glad they brought it out, and I'm glad they're polishing it. I'm glad they're creating tournaments for it, and they're creating a lot of feedback and a lot of content. You know, there's more viewership now. It's great. So I hope they keep going on this path and keep pushing, keep polishing, keep fixing and balancing. This is a good path, and I think it's the right direction for BDO. Something that we need to have in this game is content that people constantly play.
So you had 2 or 3 different idea about game feature. What was that?
First one is so this is like a very huge thing for me, is quality of life. I like doing certain things in the game, and I want it to be like done efficiently, done well. Just very few ways of wasting time. If it wastes my time, it kind of irks at me. You know what I mean? So one of the biggest things that I think is in Arena of Solaire, a lot of big problems that people have is something that we can't control. To an extent, I guess, is crashing. Everyone's going to get crashes, your teammate's going to get crashes, but I think we need to devise a way so that if you do get a crash, you should be able to come back and play. Other games can do it. I think we can do it as well. Basically, in the current problem of the state of the game is that if you crash in Arena and you log back in, you spawn in as a corpse. You're dead. So if the first round starts, you actually can't even start the game. You literally dead. Your team has to play 2 versus 3, and it makes it very difficult for you to win games like that. So a great way to deal with that is if you spawn back in, spawn alive. or increase the timer for people that crash by like a few minutes, but definitely spawn back in as an actual, not a corpse, alive. That would help a lot. I think that's just one of the most important things, in my opinion, for quality of life. Yeah, it was RBF. So the other biggest thing about RBF is, again, we're gonna get a lot of crashes. We've been having crashes since, you know, day one of RBF, and I think like another great way to fix crashes in RBF is if you crash out of RBF and you're logging back in, after the 10 minutes, or if it's full, you actually are locked out of RBF. So why not give a way to save your slot in RBF and go, if you crash, hey, would you like to join back in RBF? You know, we saved your slot from RBF. Because it's a big problem if you crash at RBF and there's like less than 10 minutes, you're locked out no matter what, even if there's only like 50 players in the game and it's capped out at 60. So definitely a great way to get back into RBF and still play without wasting the extra 10 minutes. Because most games, most RBFs, there's probably going to only be one RBF that's active. So you're basically waiting 10 minutes, you know, if you get crashed out of the RBF. Most servers, like if you're not on active times or prime times, which is around node war time, you probably won't get an RBF if you crash out of it, which is really unfortunate, but you know, it's just part of the game.
So what are your advices for newbie, returnee, or whoever wants to reroll Ninja?
For if you're a new Ninja or a new player in general, what I suggest is please do not rush playing this game. You're not going to make it to endgame. You need to accept that. You're not going to make it to endgame within like a week. You might not even make it to endgame within a month. Okay, so you need to not rush because there is so much information in this game. You cannot rush the learning process. Okay, it took me 5 years to get me to where I am today on my Ninja, and the amount of knowledge I've accumulated is just essays and essays and essays of just information. It's endless. I have hundreds of questions on Reddit. I've asked multiple questions on YouTube videos. I've watched countless like videos. I've talked to streamers on Twitch. I've asked them questions. It's an endless process of learning, okay? And you need to constantly learn for BDO. You need to ask questions. You need to grind. You need to learn about your skills. If you're a type of player that looks at a skill and you see like the kick and it says floor sweeping, what does this skill do? You know, what kind of attack is it?
Yeah.
You know, it's gonna be a lot of information for you, and you gotta learn it 1 day at a time, 1 hour at a time. Maybe you gotta sit in battle arena. You know, maybe the best way for you to learn is sit in battle arena, hit dummies. Maybe you need to listen to, you know, a streamer talking about it. Maybe you need to watch a guide. Maybe you need to go grind to practice the muscle memory of, you know, practicing combos and stuff like that. You know, everyone learns at a different pace. Everyone learns at, you know, different rates. There's no like perfect way of learning. You know, there's some people can do combos better than others. Some people take, you know, weeks to learn one combo. I've had this, you know, issue before when I was teaching somebody and they just took like a week to learn, you know, how to move and how to combo. And it's not easy. I'll be honest. It's not an easy thing to learn. Learning this game, it's very deep. The combo system is, if you are not a player that is versed in MMOs or fighting games or this type of game, you're going to take a lot of time learning about just the fundamentals of the game. And then there's also Ninja. After you learn the fundamentals of the game, you also have to learn your class. So it's just not an easy thing to learn. You have to take a lot of time. You have to be patient with it. Okay, that would be my absolute biggest advice for a newbie. Okay, and for a newbie ninja as well, is take your time learning. Don't stop learning. If you feel like you're struggling and you can't get this combo down, that's fine. Go grind. Practice your muscle memory. Maybe you're messing up the combo because you're not used to pressing certain inputs. Like I know when I first started playing this game, Shadow Stomp SE is probably one of the most awkward inputs that a ninja has. Same with QS. These are very awkward inputs. They're not natural. I've come from playing StarCraft for, 10 years. So these kinds of inputs is not a natural keyboard input. So pressing these types of buttons is very confusing for a player that's not used to using keyboard and mouse, especially if you're a console player. If you're a console player coming to keyboard and mouse, trying to get used to all these buttons, it's a nightmare for you guys. I can totally understand. So yeah, you gotta be patient. Give yourself time to learn. One of the best things is when you practice something, you gotta get good rest. Because a big thing about learning is to retain all this information, you need to sleep so that your brain remembers it and your muscle memory remembers it. So the next day you don't have to go back and look at the notes and go, what is the input for Shadow Stomp? Your hands already know it. So make sure you get some sleep. All right. So those are for the newbie ninjas. One thing at a time, guys. Grind. Make sure you memorize and get used to the muscle memory of all the inputs. Okay. That helps you the most.
So we are coming towards the end of the interview. Is there anything you would like to add?
There is one thing I would like to add is I think your videos are going to be very popular. I've seen a couple of your videos already and you're getting a lot of views. And I think as you get more popularity, on your videos, you should have a like a suggestion for Perlibus or suggestion for feedback or whatever, or like just general things that you'd like developers or whatever to hear or say, and you just have like a notes, thoughts, and stuff like that. And I did this. I think I had a little bit of influence on the Ninja rework. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe not. But there were certain things when I talked about in my thoughts video about the Ninja rework during the first weeks of it coming out in Global Labs, and I'll just talk about my thoughts. I'll talk about the different things I would like to see on the class. A lot of the Ninja Discord also added this as well, like as a collective, and it really helped have like a community behind you to talk about what the things you want, and those are really great because if developers and if a lot of people see it, they will go, oh, there's a lot of people that want this, so it's just much better that way. You know what I mean? Go check it out, guys. It's really great. Oh yeah, I'm hell yeah, subscribe to Quenya for sure, guys, if you haven't already. Subscribe to him. He has great grinding videos. Now he has a whole bunch of class interviews for the Classmasters. Go check him out. He has a whole bunch. I think he started with Zerker. I believe this is Choice. I think he had one with Divius as well.
Started with Alec.
Oh, okay.
Then Jakun, Choice, and the other classes. And I will finish all of them.
He has a whole playlist of them, so definitely go check it out, guys. I've only watched a few. He also did with Etsu most recently. That one's dope. Go check that one out as well. And he did one with Meiwa with Nayashi, I think. Yeah, he did one with Nayashi. Yeah, they're great.
So I want to say thank you. You accepted my invitation. And the guys, while we doing interview, he was streaming. He can watch stream maybe in the later. I will put the link, his stream, his Twitch link. I want to say thank you. This will be maybe longest and most funny interview that I ever done for now.
That's good.
It will be very hard to edit this, but I'm very happy. You shared a lot of information, a lot of knowledge for game itself, and also for your ninja. Thank you so much. Alright guys, do not forget, BDO is just a game. Have a nice game.